Hi, this is a quick video to show bare minimum formatting that only takes a few minutes, but that brings a bare Microsoft Word document into the realm of some professional formatting when you need to do something quick and you haven't been presented a template. Sometimes you're given a template, a Microsoft Word template by whoever wants the report or something you download from the internet, and they have a nice layout that fits into the rest of their documents. But in the lack of all that, when you need to just take a bare document and start making it presentable, that you're going to have to do in this course and others, I'm going to show you some of the basic ways to format this. These are the ones that I expect in the class. They're so minimal that you should be able to get through this, and you can use this for the future. It's a nice little kit. Remember this. You'll be able to carry this forward as a template when somebody asks you to present a document. We use this. This is a set of skills as well as some knowledge here about how to do Microsoft Word. Okay, so when I'm in Microsoft Word, as you see here, there are some extra characters showing on my screen. I find that to be very important. I've been doing this for so long. I'm on the order of a couple decades, I think, that Microsoft Word's been around, that it's second nature. And I find when people are looking at my documents when I'm on the screen, they say, what are all those marks? And what you need to do is go in there and turn all these things on. This is going to really help you with your formatting, okay? So you're able to go into File Options here, and we need to look at Display. So we go to the Display options, and I think this is Microsoft Word 2016 that I'm using here, but it's probably the same in 13, and other versions of this going backwards and then forwards into the future will have this basically here. And what I do is I click on Show All Formatting Marks, and I turn on specifically object anchors, which are good for images you're dropping into the document, or text boxes are primarily what I use those for. Okay, I click those on, and then we should be able to see these marks that you're going to see inside the document. I'm going to cancel out of there, and this is basically your margin mark here. These little crop marks up in the upper left, upper right. If you go, I just paged down here, or I shrunk down. I'm in a brand new document. I just saved it as a sample MS Word formatting standards. As I said, for the purposes of this course, just assume that all your documents should come in at least with this, and you're encouraged to go beyond this, but this is the minimum. Okay, and so my cursor right now is sitting in the body. There's a paragraph mark there because I turned them on. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the headers and footers are very helpful here. I'm going to show you how to do some lines, some visual lines that give visual separation on your page. I'm going to show you how to do multiple pages here, where your first page is a cover sheet or a title sheet, and you do not want anything to show up as far as your header or footers go. Okay, so as I said, I just opened this file and saved it. That's all I've done so far. So I'm going to double click my cursor up here in the header, and you'll see that the ribbon at the top drops into this design, header and footer tools under design. Okay, and what I'd probably type in here is something like the title of my doc. Put that in there. We're going to do, you can type in the date. I'm not really big on one for putting it in automatically, because there's different modes when you insert date automatically. When you reopen your document, it keeps updating to whatever date it is that you're on. There's certain ways of controlling that go beyond what I really care about. So you might put in the title of the doc, the date, and probably your name, something like that, in any order. Okay, as long as I get it, I get it. Okay, so now as I click back into the document, I just double click back in the body. We came back out of the header area here, and now our cursor's back in the body. But what we really like to have is a separating line here for title of doc and all this. So I'm double clicking back into the header again, and I'm going to insert shape line, and now I have this different cursor here. Now you can draw a line. You hold down your cursor and you draw a line, but you can see that it can go in any angle. If you hold down the shift button, you can drag that line over to these crop marks. I'm just using them as a visual reference here. They don't really have anything to do with the line, and we're fine. I'm just going to release the mouse clicker button, and we have a line there, and you can see the anchor symbol shows up. I always like to know what text any of my graphics are attached to, and right now it's attached to this line of text in the header called name. Okay, so we can see we're in a header function because we have header written here over here. You can see that the indicator is on. It says we're in the header. Now if we scroll all the way down, you're going to see that the footer is showing also. Okay, so there's a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to show you the lazy, easy way to do it. So I still have this line is selected. I'm going to do a Control-C, which is copy, and it really, I'm mentioning that on purpose because it's a really important command for many Microsoft and other packages, but Control-C will copy that to the clipboard, and then when I Control-V, that inserts. So I'm kind of telling you, I'm using it and I'm telling you at the same time that Control-C copies, Control-V inserts, whichever on the clipboard, okay? So I'm going to grab this new line and bring it all the way down again, and what I'm going to do is just put it in place down here above the footer, so it's going to simply give us visual separation, okay? So it gives us visual separation there, okay? And I'm going to come down into the text of the footer, and I'm going to tab over. Now the tabbing in the footer is set up so if I tab twice, the first one takes me to the center, the second tab takes me to the end of line, and I am going to insert page number at the current position, and there's a format that I prefer that I think you'll get used to. There's some really nice other formats in here, but to me it's really valuable to know if on page whatever this is, whatever document I open up, I'd like to know how many pages there are. So this is something I'd like to have you do here. It says page 1 of 1, and I'm going to click that. So it's going to give you what page you're on of the total number of pages. Okay, so far we have a nice little document setting up. We're going to end up working as a title page here, or cover page as it is, but I'm going to go ahead and Control S to save it. Okay, so I just saved my updates. It's a good habit to be in, okay, so that you don't actually make a mistake or something happens to your file, gets corrupt, and it's just a good habit to cover your left hand. For me, it's my left hand over the keyboard where it says Control S, and I'm constantly saving. So if I do anything wrong or something happens to the system and gets shut down, I have the last saved document there. Okay, all right. So this being our cover page, I just double-click back in the body to get out of the header and footer modes. Okay, I'm going to hit a couple enters here, and I'm just going to type in here in the default font that it has. I'm going to type in here title page. Okay, I just want to get us started here. Okay, so we have one page right now. It's just page 1 of 1, and to get your second page here, if you hit Control Enter, that will do a hard section break here. So I hit Control Enter, gives me a new page, and we go back up here, gave me a page break. Okay, so it got me to the second page, and that's going to be kind of important here in a second in many ways. You can see that the header and the footer are copied over from the first page, and we can already see that page 2 of 2 is listed here. If we go up, page 1 of 1 is listed. Okay, all right, so we have a title page here, and usually you start a document, unless you're otherwise told, if it's a report up to executive management, start with your executive summary. Okay, so this is going to take the whole premise of your report and put the good parts here in a very linked, logical way that's synthesized out of all the discoveries you made from whatever activity the report comes from, and you're delivering this as a really quick summary, never longer than a page. For all intents and purposes, your executive summary is always going to stick to one page. It's the first and last thing you do, because it's really the synthesis of the rest of your concepts, so you can't write it at first, but you could start it and get a sense as to where the paper's going and know that you're going to edit it later on. Okay, so one thing we don't normally see is when I go back to the title page, on that first page, usually you don't have a header and footer on there. So I'll show you what you do. You go into the header here, double click in the header, activate the header area of this, and when the design part of the ribbon pops up again, click different first page, and that will take the header footer off the first page, and you can type in another one. But as I mentioned, you don't want anything on the first page anyway. Okay, but if we drop down to the second page, you can see that the header is still there. So that's the first word, let's just say the next item to take care of. Okay, so on your title page, I'm not going to get too much into. You could get creative with this. You can have some fancy title to this, very compelling or very succinct as to what the report's about. But normally you would type in here your name as the report or the team that is in here. Perhaps you have a team and you have my member 1 and member 2. Okay, and I'm going to introduce the text box. Is very handy for doing many things. Okay, you can work with a line of text like this to format it, get it centered, you can do other things with it. But sometimes style says you might want a little bit off center, you want to do something asymmetric with the way that you do this. And what you can do for inserting a text box, which can be moved around your document and controlled very well, is I have the text that I want to put in the text box selected. This is a little shortcut here. Go to Insert, I want to insert text box, and it gives you many styles here that you can choose from. And I'm going to give you the simplest here. I'm not going to get into any styly kind of things that Microsoft Word offers up, but I'm going to go to simply draw text box. And when you click that, it puts this selected border around your page, and you can move it around, and you can also see it gives you some centering lines here. The later versions of Word got really fancy, and they give you all these centering lines that you can find. Okay, so now I'm centered horizontally on there. Oh, that's great. Now you know it. You don't have to eyeball it. Okay, and there's an anchor. An anchor is getting tied to a single line here. It's simply a carriage return. It gets associated with that line. Okay, so let's do a second one. I'm going to take the second group of text here. The shortcut is grab the text, do an insert text box, draw text box, and now we have our second text box. And oftentimes you have to imagine what you're working on here. It's a blank page, right? And what you might do is put your box down here. Okay. Okay, so the next little trick I do, first I'm going to Control Save it, Control S, and if you go to File, Print, this is the shortcut to see visually. This is why I can see the document without all those formatting characters in there now, and you can actually scale it up at the bottom here. You can actually take a look at your document, you can scale it, take a look at it and see how it looks. You can look for, there's definitely two different views. When you take a look at it like this, you're going to pick up things that you didn't see when you were actually working on the document. So I'm not going to print this. I just wanted to use that view capability in here. I'm going to hit Escape. That takes us back to the document. Okay. Now there are things you can do about text boxes. Okay. So this text box comes with different sets of formatting with it. Okay. Some of them won't make much sense and won't be obvious on the cover sheet. But what I would like to do is remove that visual line around the box. And so I can go into, I did a right click on the box to select it, and then I right clicked again, and it will give me different things like formatting, shape, and layout options. I'll get into layout options when we get to the body of the text, or the text body, where that makes a little bit more sense than now, because we don't have other text on this cover sheet. We only have text boxes. Okay, so I'm going to format shape. And Microsoft Word 2016 gives you a control panel over here on the right that other versions of Microsoft Word might not. You might get a drop-down box to work in. That's what I'm actually more familiar with. But in Microsoft 2016, they give you a whole work panel over here to start working on formatting your text box. So I'm going to click on line here, the drop down. See, it's a little arrow there. You click, and it tells me more. It gets into verbose mode under line. And I'm just going to simply right now not even look at the rest of this and just click no line. Okay. And when I come back over here and click in the document, you can see the line, the visual line, is now gone off the title page. Okay. So I'm going to grab that text. Sure is awfully small. Okay. I'm going to go to the home menu item, and I'm going to increase the font size. You can go in and specify a certain font size that you want, or what I've gotten around to is really quickly, so I can see what's happening here, I can quickly click this size up arrow here, and it's going to take me to a larger size. Okay, so what would be visual pleasing? I don't know, you're going to work on that. Okay, but every time I click this, it makes significant leaps or decreases in the font size when I'm just using the arrows, so I can make it larger and I can make it smaller. Okay, so there you're formatting that. Wonderful. Okay, so you're able to format that. Okay, so let's leave that for a second. Now we've got something of a cover sheet working for us. That's wonderful. Okay, in the executive summary, generally they're text. Generally they don't include a visual support image for whatever you're writing about. Most of the time, how many sentences are you going to be able to fit in the executive summary? If you think about it, the impact of your paper has to fit within possibly 10 plus or minus 2 sentences. Your entire paper has to be summarized in about 10 to 12, maybe at the most 13, 14 sentences here. You have to capture the whole essence here as to why the reader is going to want to read more involved with this as you're going to go deeper in this. So you can simply start typing in here, my great discovery is, that's generally the sense of this in an executive summary. The great discovery or my great discovery is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You fill in that. That's what you have to synthesize out of all of what you've discovered and worked on for your paper. Okay, so now that we have the executive summary, generally you can do some simple formatting, like make that bold and sometimes underline it, and I probably punch it up one font size. Generally I do work in font size of 11 is the standard default for Microsoft Word. Calibri is the font. I don't change that. I think it's wonderful. They've selected a pretty good default, but I might just punch that up and remember that my headings here will be 14 font. I just remember that. There are other more complicated ways to do this, but that's basically how you could do all the formatting in our course that you need to, and in the future probably. So what do I need? Another page. I want to do another section. So I'm going to hit a Control Enter and give myself a forced page break, and that gave me a new page. You can see this is where I just hit Control Enter. It says to me page break, and that's why I turned on the formatting, so I can see all these and know that why it's dropped down to a new page. Okay, that's really my rationale for doing it that way, or that I'm suggesting you should, at least for this course. Okay, so now after we get the executive summary, let's say we're doing a market plan or a business plan. The first thing, the next section might be something about market characterization. Okay, so we're talking about business here, so it would not be unlikely that the first thing you want to talk about is market characterization. And for the record, you might want to name basically there's a need out there in the market. Who has the need? How are they characterized? How is that market segment? What's their behavior? How are they characterized? All right. And your hypothesis is some solution that you're going to offer and make a lot of money with, because there's a big market. Okay, how is that market characterized? And under characterization, you would certainly put things like I am going to, right now I'm going to put in a bullet. Click a bullet here. Size, demographic. Other things you'd have to know exactly what you're working on. Is there a geography to this? Is it a growing market? Hopefully, pretty much anything we want to talk about in class is going to be about a growing market. So there's a hypothesis. This is going to be your solution. Okay, so we have this other section that we've created. We're going to punch it up to 14, font size 14, bold it up and underline it. Okay, so that's the minimum formatting that you really need to do in the paper. But let's take it down toward the end. You're going to put other things in your market characterization. Generally, you're going to talk about some finance issues in a paper. You're going to talk about operations. Those are the big three. And then, very importantly, is sustainability, which we can break down into the triple bottom line. Is going to be financial, social, and ecological, or ecological. Okay, so ecological, that's your triple bottom line. And these are generally the main parts of a business plan, one way or another. You're going to start breaking into other sections to make the ideas clear. But what I can do is select each of these section headings right here. I can bold them all at the same time. I can underline them all at the same time, and I can punch them up to 14 all at the same time. And I already have a working outline now for a business plan. Okay, all right. But so far, this is just generic to my discussion that I really want the visual part of this to be set up. This is what I'm describing here in this video, is the header, the line, choose a nice format. This is the default one I'm suggesting, that you use bold underline at 14 for your document. The rest of your text is basically at 11. All right, and whatever spacing is natural here and default from Microsoft Word is what you should use. Okay. All right, so let's talk about a little bit more about the formatting. I'm going to hit Enter here. I have an indentation going on. I'm going to bring that indentation back again. So I'm using indents, not spaces. Don't use spaces. They'll get you in trouble. You'll never be able to track them, and they change with the font. The relative size of spacing of a space of all the characters changes with the font. You'll really get into trouble there, okay? All right, when you're talking about all this, let's say you're able to cover everything in these four sections: market, finance, operations, sustainability. You're going to put in a conclusion. Okay, almost every paper needs a conclusion. You're going to help the reader understand why it was valuable for your time in your life to go do this. So let's add in a section on that, punch it up to 14. Okay, so you can give a conclusion that's different than your executive summary. It almost leads to the executive summary. Someone might read the conclusion, and then when they go back to the executive summary, they can understand the flow of thought and the flow of logic. Obviously, you're trying to show a logical step through coming to market on something. For all intents and purposes, we're talking business here. Okay, so we have conclusion. Okay, now how do we finish off the document? Control Enter, give myself another page. For sure, every document you're going to have is going to reference Appendix A will be your citations, okay, in your selected format. It can be whatever format of the 3 or 4 that you've learned at the Mount already to use for your citations. Citations, spell that correctly. Okay, and so I would do the same with my appendix listings here. I bold it up, underline it, and almost every paper you have will have citations. And this is one of the things I stress in the course is good sources of data. So the appendices all pretty much start in their own section or on their own page. So you might have an appendix B, and let's say it's a business plan, and you're going to have your financials in here. Okay, and this is going to help me explain something. I'll go to Microsoft Word and show you how to put in Microsoft Excel, and go in and put in Microsoft Excel diagram inside a document like this. Okay, so Appendix B, Financials. What you're going to do is go to Excel, and you're going to insert screen grabs of what you did in Microsoft Excel, and you're going to put them in as images here. And you're going to rotate them, so you'd have to turn the page. It's going to be in a. You want to put them in here because spreadsheets are normally from left to right. They're wider. They're landscape format where they're wider than they are high, and so you're going to have to put them in here, rotated 90 degrees, and read them across. You have to turn the page to read them. Okay, so I grab my heading, and as good practice, I'm always staying on top of my format. I do a bold, underline, 14 font. Okay. Got 14 font there. All right, so you can add your other appendices as you go in there. Okay, let's go up to one of our sections here. So far we've gotten 5 pages. See how fast this goes? I mean, when you get in the habit of this minimum good formatting, it's just rote. You just roll through this. It already looks pretty good. We've got half of a document, half of a whole report written already, or at least organized. Now I will show you how to use the Microsoft snipping tool to select a part of your viewable desktop on your computer and save that off as an image file, and then implant that or insert that into your document, and that will be used to augment your narrative, and your narrative will refer to it, and your narrative will make it relevant. Word, how to do a screen grab, and what you need is the snipping tool. So I'm going to bring up the snipping tool to do this. This is how you grab something off the screen. You click New, and I just want this image. And if you see the crosshairs here, I'm going to grab a little bit of the white that is around, surrounds this image on this page. So you'd be using your data, but I'm showing you how to grab. This is just grabbing any random data off a screen. I just happen to go out to the internet and grab it. Okay, so I grab this file, or I grab this image here, and I need to come into File and under Edit, do a copy to the clipboard. I have that on the clipboard. I go back to my document, and now how do we put this in here? There's 2 ways. My suggested way is to use a text box, but you could also just drop the image in there. They operate somewhat the same, but what you're going to want to do is format text around the image that you have, and you're going to want to place the image in the right place on your page. Okay, so I'm going to hit Enter, give myself a little bit of room here, and I'm going to do a Control V, because the Control V takes whatever's on the clipboard and puts it in there. Okay, so now if you look, when I grab it, there's nothing's really happening. Okay, gives me some lines around it. I can rotate it, but see, it stays where it is. It stays clipped to the left margin here. Okay, so I don't want to retain that last change I made. So very important shortcut, Control Z undoes what you just did. Okay, so I just undid that move. Okay, that rotate that I just did. To move this around the page, now if it's a simple image like this, you can use these text formatting commands, and you can put it on the left margin, center margin, or right margin. Okay, so you can go any way you want with that. Okay, but there's a way of making it more generic where you put this. If you right click this and you go into let's see, size and position here, go to text wrapping, and let's say right now it's clicked at as inline with text. I'm going to click square and say OK. All right, so now what happens is the text flowed around the image, but unlike before, I'm able to grab the image now. See, I just gave it new capabilities. I'm able to grab this and I can put it all the way up here, I can put it all the way down here, and that's fine. Okay, so I have that sitting over here and we can talk about it. But you're going to have to put in something about figure 1 or graph 1 or whatever you're going to do. You need to identify this, and there's no good way of doing that unless we go in here and there's a label function they might have added in here. If we go into oh, I guess there is an insert caption, so you can put a caption in here, and let's say it's figure 1. Let's go along with figure 1 on that. So if you hit figure 1, it's going to put the figure 1 down here. You can edit it, boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, we're going to leave it at that. We'll leave the discussion at that. You need to, those are the minimum kind of formatting items around an image that you need to know about. What I would do with this is I'm going to put figure 1 colon really big profits. Okay, so this is what you want to identify this with, and over here you would say hypothesis solution. We're going to get really big profits. See figure 1. There you go. Okay, so you're tying it into what you're talking about. I can't emphasize enough that throwing pictures in doesn't do anybody any good. In fact, it makes it even more amateur because people can tell that you put it in there to fill space. You're not tying it in together. At worst, you're leaving it for the reader to interpret. You're trying to make a point. Make your point with an image inside the document. Okay, it has to be tied together. This could be a whole paragraph. It could be a couple sentences. It could be to just drive a point home, or it could be for more analysis. Okay, but you have to be clear. Okay, what I do suggest is that at this point of your career, looking forward, I would get really used to using a higher level screen editing piece of software, or get used to Photoshop and bring this image into Photoshop, where you can put arrows on here and put in the image itself. You can actually write comments in here, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I encourage you to be really professional. You're going to want to take an image and then make your own updates to it. You're going to want to draw arrows on here or put a circle around it. They're really fancy now, where you could just blur everything you don't want them to look at, so they can focus on this one spike here if that's what you're trying to talk about. But I expect that, and that's what, for professional delivery, you'd be looking at, is tying the image into your text. It's got to be meaningful why it's in there. Okay? All right. So far so good. You can also do things like with quotes to draw some very big attention to pithy quotes that you might put in here. Is Al said, whoever Al is, and put this in quotes. Al said this, right? So there are ways of formatting this in a text box. If we go back, put this in a text box, draw a text box, right? I'm going to Control Z, undo that. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to insert text box and show you that there are some neat formats for doing such a thing like this, where, see, we have like a filigree quote here. If I click filigree quote, it inserts this in here, and what you need to do is grab your text that you want in there, Control X. No, if you delete it, it's gone, but if you Control X, it puts it on the clipboard, and it says take the text here and just Control V. Let's try to get this again. Control V. Okay, Control Z. Now the issue here is that the text is in white, so if we have to grab the text again, that's a little hint. see, the text is probably white. Let's try to make it blue or something like that. Okay, it converted it to white. So sometimes you have to understand what's going on here. I'm going to bold that up, punch that up, boom, boom, boom. All right, so that's again, it's like an image in here. You've seen it in writing. Most of what I'm showing you, you've seen in other places, but you sometimes draw attention to a big resource, a big reference that you're making to Al, and you're going to say, you know, according to president of the company, Al President, it's both his title and his name, etc., etc. So you're going to repeat this quote up here. That's a real fancy way of doing it. Not necessary. You could just use a couple lines. There's other formats in there for text boxes, but that's a little bit of embellishment of a document. Just trying to show you how things could look with a little bit of work, some of the options within Microsoft Word. Okay, so that's it. I mean, I want to show, I think I've shown everything there that I need to. One thing I would like to do more on another document might be a little bit more formatting, but basically you've got the basics here of what to use to deliver into Business 4010, the course. Thank you.